Oysters by Brindley, Hallam, Dennis. Pearl was heavily built and short. People said she cast herself willingly before swine. She was the type of woman who seemed to invite that titillating speculation about what it would feel like to press various parts of your anatomy against, or even into various parts of hers. She had a steady gaze. It held you in contempt and seemed to say that if you got the old man out, even if he were standing strictly to attention, she would not be overly impressed. What titillated Jacobson about this was the thought that she would take it, nevertheless, in her stride, or in her hand, and deal with it efficiently and without emotion, judging her pleasure rather than surrendering to it. The thought of being used like this thrilled him to the core. Rumour in the hotel was that Pearl, who was said to be living her wild years late in life, following the eventual disintegration of a long-standing but too early marriage, would offer relief of various sorts to any of the young waiters who were in need. She can speak with her mouth full in 5 languages, the handyman said with a grin. The handyman kept a tin of heavy-duty glue, which he sniffed throughout the day, and at night he smoked dope he bought from a man he met at a service station, and drank spirits from bottles he traded with the night porter. It's possible Jacobson wouldn't have thought of Pearl in this way, but she had put the idea into his head, having told him he was too old for her. She liked her men vigorous. After that Mae West moment, Jacobson became unable to think of her in any other way. He wasn't comfortable with the image the handyman's joke evoked, though. He didn't like to think of Pearl on her knees before anybody. And when he thought of her in relation to himself, he always pictured her as the one standing. The night of the hotel staff party, the hotel was empty and the restaurant closed. If any of the rooms were unexpectedly used before the dawn, the night-keeping staff would be perfectly capable of putting everything into good order before the next day's guests arrive. Jacobson was standing by the bay window in the lilac room. He looked out through his reflection to the front door, where he saw an old, fat woman. It was Pearl. She had lost her aura of confidence. The handyman was leaning in close, his face dark in the orange wash of the porch lights. Jacobson took a walk to the front door. The handyman, who had already upset several people on the dance floor, was holding a matchbox, but he was holding it the wrong way around. Pearl, who held an unlit cigarette in slightly trembling fingers, looked towards Jacobson as if she were really happy to see him. "Let me," Jacobson said, producing a lighter, which he always carried in case any of the guests should require a light. He flipped it open, sparked a flame, and held it out towards her. She took his hand and drew it closer, and touched the tip of her cigarette to his flame, which flowed towards her as she inhaled. She smiled and stepped back a pace. "Thanks." The handyman, his mouth hanging open, his face flushed, stood with the matchbox and the unstruck match in his hands. He turned to face Jacobson. "What the fuck are you doing?" he said. "The lady needed a light," Jacobson said, standing motionless. "I was doing that," the handyman slurred. The handyman looked at the matchbox, reversed it and struck the match, which flared between them. It was a still night and the flame quickened and sparked and burned with a steady glow. After a hot October day, clouds had thickened from the west, keeping the heat in but not bringing rain. There were neither moon nor stars, and the 3 of them stood under the harsh glare of the porch light. The handyman swayed slightly, and the flame shimmied its way along the matchstick until it kissed his finger's end. Fuck! He shook it to the ground. Pearl, who Jacobson could see out of the corner of her eye, was holding a cigarette to her lips between upraised fingers. She seemed shorter than usual. I need a drink, the handyman said, turning awkwardly and moving unsteadily between them into the warm tunnel of the hallway. Can I get you a drink? Jacobson said. Wine, Pearl said. Please. When he got back, she had finished her cigarette and was leaning against the wooden supports of the porch. Light from the lamp caught the curls at the hair of her neck, and shadows slipped down her dress, stroking her calves and kneeling at her feet. I brought you white, Jacobson said, holding up the 2 glasses which he carried, one in each hand. Red for me, he said. She reached out for the red. The genuine pearl dissolves in red wine, she said. I thought you'd know that.